We have often heard the argument that the issue with our current economic sufferings of today and the affordability crisis is that there is a wealth inequality, and wealth inequality results in you not having enough because someone else has more. But once we think about this, uh, and think about it further, we start to realize that this doesn't make any sense. If we had an equality of wealth, it does not say anything about how much wealth you have. You could be incredibly poor, and everyone else is also incredibly poor, and we could have achieved wealth equality, but yet there would still be plenty of economic suffering happening anyways. And so we have to identify what really is the root of economic suffering. Well, when there's a breakdown in economic cooperation, which economic cooperation is what produces wealth, we face economic suffering. And we can see that often economic suffering and the destruction of productive activity is caused by expropriation. Expropriation, such as uh, regulations on the economy, which halts economic productive activities and redirects the means of wealth generation to a specially privileged class of individuals who the other individuals are outregulated. They are outregulated out of the economy, and therefore they cannot engage in the productive means, and then therefore they cannot engage in competition. Therefore, an oligarchy starts to form, a cartel starts to form, because they are privileged by government, by these regulations, and which generates them more wealth at the expense of other people. This is wealth inequality, and we do see wealth inequality being produced by the state. That is very much true. But then people, they make the mistake, the fallacy, that wealth inequality, as just in general, is the problem, rather that it's the expropriation that is the problem. Some people say that, like, eat the rich, take down the rich. But what is rich? Is it multimillionaire? Is it multi-billionaire? Is it trillionaire? We can definitely see that in today's society, becoming a billionaire and becoming a trillionaire often and virtually always means engaging in some sort of expropriation, racketeering mechanism that in some sort of ruling class. Elon Musk's wealth is not natural. His insane, absurd wealth gap between you and me and him is absurd and is caused by government regulations granting him special economic privileges that allows him to make wealth while other people are not allowed to make wealth. We can identify that the root of economic poverty is caused by government granting privileges to certain class or groups or collectives of people at the expense of others, where they are outlawed from economic production and engaging in their inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that they are destitute by society, and they can and will become poor. And so all over the world we see a global homelessness crisis. You can walk outside in your average city around the world and you can find mothers changing diapers of their babies on a dirty mattress outside because they're homeless and they're poor. That is not caused by wealth inequality. That is caused by the expropriation racket that is that are embedded as mechanisms in our economies today, which does produce wealth inequality, but we should also still see to expect wealth inequality in a free society anyways, in a free market or in anarchy. We should still see to expect wealth inequality. But what we should not expect to see is economic poverty where people's needs are not met, because we have to ask the question, what is preventing these individuals from having their needs and their desires met where they can live comfortably and produce and be productive in society? because obviously being homeless is not very economically productive. So what is causing this? It's always has to do something with government outlawing the ability to be an entrepreneur. And this is what creates a general class divide in society of workers and capitalists, is because it is outlawed for people to become capitalists themselves, to become entrepreneurs themselves, and engage in productive economic means. And in order to avoid to be homeless, they have to sell themselves out to wage labor. But anyways, in the free market is the market in the society of entrepreneurs, trading and selling and engaging in their passions and their projects and productive economic means. And because everyone is unique and there is diversity, there is precisely inequality in nature. Everyone is different, and so everyone provides different skills and abilities, and people are better at some things while other people are better at other things. And so, in a free society where people are free to engage in what they want to do and produce what they want to do, there will be a division of labor where people will be best specialized where they are best suited for. And where they're best suited for is where their heart and their interests and their passion lies. And that's is the creative advance of entrepreneurship. But precisely because everyone is different and unique, we should not expect everyone to be making the same amount of money. We should also expect that making any amount of money will be fine. There would be no problem with it because housing and rent would be cheap and living would be cheap and affordability would be cheap because the free market makes everything cheap. And so there would not be any need or anxiety over affordability, putting the food on the table, and paying the taxes, because there wouldn't be any taxes. And everyone would be free to engage in whatever they want to do on the free market and become their own entrepreneur and sell what they best provide for society because they are maximizing uh, their nature and what they're good at. The market will provide people the jobs that best suit them because the market demands them and demands their special, unique contribution to the world and to the economy. And so there's actually nothing wrong with wealth inequality. There's nothing wrong with someone having more than you. Someone having more than you does not mean that you don't have enough. You could just have enough and someone has more than you, and everyone's unique, so that calls for different needs. Some people need and have a desire to make a bunch of money and make a bunch of wealth, and they're workaholics, and that's fine because everyone's different. And so there will be individuals out there who are very much capable and want to and willing to work a bunch and make a bunch of money, and that's totally fine. And so we should expect on the free market in a free society that there will be individuals with more and individuals with less. So, so wealth inequality, as we try to identify the woes and sorrows of today, people try to identify the suffering rooted in wealth inequality, that someone has more than me. But that's precisely fallacious. That doesn't identify the problem at all. In fact, the problem is expropriation and ruling classes. It is not the problem is not that Elon Musk has more than you. Who cares how much Elon Musk has? Having a bunch of things is not going to make you happy. In fact, we should expect to see plenty of modest living in a free society. We should expect plenty of people who just don't want to work that much and probably want to work very little and live very carefree. And they may not make enough money. Sorry, let me correct myself. They may not make a whole lot of money, but they will have enough because there will always be enough in a free society without ruling classes. There would be no reason for poverty at all in a free society. And so it wouldn't really matter how much money you're making because however much money you're making is exactly what you want. You don't want to work a whole bunch? That's fine. You can live modestly and you're fine. You want to have a lot of things, want to have a lot of goodies and toys? That's also fine. You engage in what you love to do and provide it on the free market, and people will pay for it. That's what we should expect to see. So, all in all, when we try to identify wealth inequality as the problem, what that encourages is wealth redistribution. And people think that wealth redistribution is what creates wealth. But wealth redistribution doesn't create wealth. It takes wealth from one individual and moves it to another individual. That's not how wealth is created. Wealth is created either by mixing your labor with land, and land is just simply just any nature given resources. Like, for example, animals would count as land in the economic sense because they are nature given resources. And when you domesticate an animal, you have appropriated it into your property. And this is where the root of a free society is rooted in private property rights. All property finds their root through this first given set of factors in production, which is labor and land, and then everything else is either capital goods, producer goods, or consumer goods, and those are later down in the stages of production. Producer goods and consumer goods are the other ways to make wealth in a free society through trading consumer and producer goods. So you could either go out in nature and make shit, or you can go out in the free market and trade shit. That's how wealth is created. The wealth is created because why does a trade happen? A trade happens because precisely there is an inequality of values. The reason why I trade something and you trade something and we trade between each other, if I were to give you my telescope and you gave me a gaming PC, it's precisely because I value the gaming PC more than the telescope that I have, and you value the gaming PC that you have more than the telescope that I'm going to give you. If we realize our values, then we can engage in the process of trade. And we have generated wealth, meaning that we have gained a psychic profit because we're like more happy with this. We're like, yay, I got a gaming PC. You got a telescope. And we're happier off from it. We have a psychic profit from it. That's how wealth is generated. The only other way to make wealth is through the political means, or expropriation, where you have to steal it or take it from other people. That's the other way that you can make means. And, sorry, that's the other way that you can make wealth. Not make it, but that's how you can get wealth. You can get wealth not by making it, but by taking it from other people. And that is precisely what wealth redistribution is, anyways. Even if it may be with good intent because you want to stop the affordability crisis and you've made the fallacy that you identified that there is wealth inequality and you've made the fallacious connection that wealth inequality was precisely the issue instead of a symptom of a larger issue, which is expropriation, which is the true issue. And then your solution to the problem is to engage in wealth redistribution, expropriation. It doesn't create wealth. It destroys wealth because it has to benefit one person at the expense of another. And so one group of people are privileged and benefit from this, and another group of people at their expense lose on it. And people try to think that, like, we're going to just try to tax the billionaires, we're just going to try to tax the rich. Never mind the fact that not all rich people are evil or engaged in the ruling class. And then, of course, the more rich and rich you go, the higher likelihood that you are engaging in the ruling class, especially once you become billionaire or trillionaire, then you're probably gaining your wealth through some sort of expropriation. But there's nothing wrong inherently with being a billionaire or trillionaire or whatever number of money you have. There's nothing inherently wrong with having X amount of money, X amount of wealth. There's nothing wrong with that. There's everything wrong with how did you get that wealth? Through productive means or expropriation. So that about wraps it up for this video, I think. Comment down below what you think. Tell me what you want to say to me or whatever. Like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to watch more content. I'll upload a video never, ever, ever, ever again. Goodbye.